Good morning, Patrick here live from Complete Health in Eastbourne, and I just wanted to discuss a topic that pretty much comes up every single day when I'm in practice, which is I'm in pain, what exercises should I be doing? I'm in pain, what stretches should I be doing? I'm in pain, how do I alleviate this by doing exercises? And unfortunately, the answer to that question is very often not what people want to hear. And the reason why it's not what people want to hear is that typically, if someone's walked into my office with a problem or an injury or a pain, they've let the tissues get too far. They're broken. They've been injured. There's some tearing. There is something that's happened. There's something that's happened that has now caused for that tissue to signal to your brain that something has gone wrong. Now, most of the time when I'm with patients, either that's going to be a tendon or a ligament or a disc or a nerve. But once you've put the pressure on that joint and it's inflamed, exercising that tissue is only going to irritate it. E.g., if you've torn a ligament and you start to do things that will pull on that by exercise, that will only further increase the inflammatory response. Now, the other thing is if something is fully torn, very much like your bike chain, if you're cycling your bike and your chain snaps in half and you continue trying to run the pedals, nothing is going to work. Now, this can be very simple. When we look at the way that nerves work, if you have blocked the way that a nerve works, or your disc or something is squashing on a nerve and it is making things go weak in your legs, you can do all the exercises under the sun. The nerve is not sending the signal, therefore, you cannot actually induce the strength in the tissues at the other end of that nerve. So let me just give you a very good example again with this, is that if you were driving down the M25, you have 3 lanes, the traffic will flow freely. Now, when you start to squash the nerve, all of a sudden you've cut down one of the lanes. The traffic is going to significantly slow down. If you cut down another lane, guess what? It backs up, you cut it down again, it stops. Now, this is the same kind of way that nerves work, because nerves work much more on a dimmer basis, on the grounds that if you start to put pressure on them, they don't just completely switch off, they start to reduce in function until you've squashed them enough that they completely lose all their function. Now, really our job is really to get you to a point where you can actually get the signals down your nerves, where the tendons are actually healed enough and that they've actually started to settle down, that you can actually then start to exercise yourselves. So with most of my patients, a lot of the time, the only exercise I get people to do is just their standard activities of daily living, maybe a little bit walking. But if, say, for example, someone's got a shoulder issue, I'm not going to give them loads of rotator cuff exercises, stretches, resistance and strength-based exercises straight away, because when I do that, or if I do that to 2 patients and I give them the exercises far too early on, what tends to happen is those tendons and those ruptures are much more likely to continue to tear and fray. Now, the other thing is as well, is if I give someone with a very bad posture exercises to do at home, e.g. if they've got a rotator cuff injury, got a shoulder injury, and they've got bad posture, and I get them to do rotator cuff injury exercises, quite often the clavicle and the humeral head, so the collarbone and the top of your arm, will actually start to create friction on those rotator cuff tendons. And again, you can just further exacerbate those issues. So in the first instance, the best thing to do is, if an injury has occurred, is consult a practitioner. And the reason being is that there may be something else going on underlying that you cannot see, and this is why we do full posture analysis with every single one of our patients. The reason why we do full posture analysis is it sometimes allows us to actually see if there's another dysfunction that is there that maybe we've actually missed. And so exercise is super, super important, by the way, and I'm not disregarding exercise, but initially when an injury has occurred, it's probably not going to be the be and end all, just in case you actually further exacerbate that. Now, if you are doing exercise and it does further exacerbate, that's when you have to seriously consider further consultation and actually understand why, because you may actually find that you need some further investigation, whether that's an X-ray, whether that's an MRI scan, whether that's just neurological testing. to actually understand the components of what's going on so that people can actually manage the right tissues to help you to heal. Guys, I hope you found some value. Don't always expect everything to be solved by a couple of stretches and exercise, because once you've let a tissue get to a point where it's producing pain, that tissue has been under distress for a long period of time, and so it can take time to heal. Now, the other thing as well is if you are been giving exercises and they do produce pain, you need to obviously consult those with your practitioner. The other thing as well is if you are doing exercise and you do find that actually they're not helping as quickly as you thought, you may actually find that you haven't been doing them for long enough as well. So anything inside of the body, as far as an injury is occurred, it does take time. And this is the one thing that we cannot speed up. If you get sick and you get the flu, it takes time. If you injure your shoulder, it takes time. If you prolapse a disc, it takes time, because we cannot force the body to heal quicker than it actually heals. Broken bones, they take time, and they're all going to require some level of rehab and correction to make sure that those don't result in compensatory patterns and long-term injuries. Guys, we'll see you again tomorrow morning for another live with me here. If you have any questions, obviously just drop us a message in the messages below. It's really great to see so much feedback coming from you guys on our Facebook channel, and we'll see you in the clinic very, very soon.